Welcome to this update for Daggerheart as part of the open beta. My name is Matthew Mercer. I'm one of the contributing designers on Daggerheart.
And I'm Spenser Starke. I'm the lead designer on Daggerheart.
Indeed.
We're here. We're doing the thing.
We are. We are present, as are you. So first off, we'll start saying just a big thank you to everyone who's been diving into this playtest, who's been submitting all this amazing feedback in both your player and the GM surveys. It's been absolutely incredible and continues to be extremely helpful.
Yeah, it's been so cool to see how many people have been playing and submitting surveys. We're honored that so many of you have joined us in trying out this new system and like helping us to find the areas that can be improved, which is the whole point of us going out with an open beta like this. So thank you to everybody that has submitted your feedback. Our team of designers, artists, producers, editors, and everybody else have been hard at work implementing these important updates and laying the foundation for future playtests, as well as like the eventual release of the game.
Indeed.
So.
But today, we're going to discuss the patch changes for 1.4.2, and we're also going to take some questions from chat. We're going to highlight some of the amazing community creations from our Heavy Hitters Survey that we put out recently.
Yeah, we're also going to talk about some of the stuff that we have coming up for the next version drop as well, just to give you a little preview of what's to come.
Indeed. So we hope that this will help you jump into the new 1.4.2 materials and get playtesting those as well. And I think to that point, we'll go ahead and let's jump it off. Let's get it going. Alrighty.
I think I'll start with the easy one, which is like, the Guardian character just had some patches. There were a couple of things that we wanted to fix on there, some little bugs, and we wanted to address there. So you'll see some changes there. The class feature had a small adjustment that was kind of just like some words to make things more clear, but the bigger one was the leveling up on the Guardian. There were some options that we put in, and it felt like it was a little bit too powerful, so we scaled that back a little bit. But the big change that we see in 1.4.2, besides that, is that we've ordered the ancestry abilities on the ancestry cards and in the book. So players that want to play mixed ancestry now choose one from the top and one from the bottom.
Yeah, it's you know, primarily to future-proof the design of the game, as well as just balancing it now. You know, we're throwing things at the wall, trying them out, and things have been going really well. But we want to make sure that we don't diminish the capabilities of having these different ancestries at your disposal, but want to make sure that, you know, we balance it and make sure that we can continue to hopefully in the future bring more and more ancestries into the game and try not to break it too heavily with each one we do in the future. So we're trying this out and let us know how it goes.
We were kind of talking out there about it, but one of the big things, and you hit it, but just to repeat it as well, is like, one of the big challenges when we threw the ancestries, the two ancestry abilities features that were available, was that immediately you could like mix and match any. And while that's really cool, and we want people to be homebrewing if that's what they want to do, and you know, if you have specific abilities that you want to play with and you want to talk with your GM about them, you should absolutely do that. But rules as written, we needed a way to be able to separate off certain features from interacting with other features, not only for this version of the game, because, you know, we could continue to tweak those ancestries so that the overlap today wasn't a big deal. But I think the biggest issue for me was I was looking at the future and being like, if when, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get more ancestries that come out, we don't want to run into a situation where we can't make a cool feature for them because it would interact with one other feature on a card. And so by creating a built-in sort of isolation of those in a way that we can be like, okay, these are top abilities and these are bottom abilities, and they are not, they're not necessarily sorted by like, one is passive and one is, you know, mechanical, or one is narrative. We just kind of have two categories that we can sort stuff into. And as we continue to play test, we'll figure out, you know, how to finagle those, that they all feel correct. But would love your feedback there too. If you're finding like, oh, I really love how these two interact, doesn't feel like it's broken the game, it just feels like it's fun. That's all feedback we'd love to have, so that we can ensure that we're pairing things up correctly.
Yeah, it's definitely the idea of making it to continue to balance it as we go, but not take the idea of balancing by diminishing the existing ancestries as they are independently. And so as opposed to like adjusting those directly to kind of, you know, facilitate preventing overtly broken builds. Instead, just kind of separating those into two different categories and checking how that balances with that limitation is going to be kind of a big push in this next wave for us to keep an eye on.
So we're excited about that. The other bit is that the adventures have been updated with the new cards. So if you want to go play the Tier 1 adventure that just dropped, Murders of Windfall, that has the changes implemented there. There's a bunch of pre-generated characters that actually continue from the Quick Start adventure. So if you play the Quick Start adventure and you want to keep playing those same characters, we'd level them up to level 2, so your table can continue their story. And both of those, both the Quick Start adventure and the Marauders of Windfall adventure that will be played at Gen Con, can be found at Daggerheart.com if you're looking for it. Yeah, so that's kind of those are the main changes. We purposefully had a patch update here that was not as much as other updates have been, to help players to continue to play the game and not get too many changes too quickly. We've heard you as well on the internet as we've released lots of changes, but I will say that the benefit of that for us is to get quick iteration to see what doesn't work and what does, and be able to float ideas by the community. So to that point, we sort of want to give you a preview of what's coming in 1.5. Do you want to kick us off with Thresholds?
Sure. Yeah, one of the things we're going to be trying in the next update, and don't freak out, but we're looking to remove minor thresholds in the next test, and with that rebalancing kind of armor and adversaries to compensate for that. But through testing and such, we found that the attention of the 3 different thresholds being adjustable numbers was just a little bit of layer of complication. And we wanted to try out the idea of just anything, you have a major threshold and you have a severe threshold. Anything that's below the major is a 1 hit point minor wound, and if somehow you bring your use your armor to bring it below 1, then it's no damage.
Yeah.
But in removing the minor threshold as a variable that can change in that regard, it helps streamline further the process of taking damage in battle as well as dealing it to adversaries. And even just in our internal playtesting, it's actually been really, really good.
It's been really strong so far. And also the other bit to touch on there is something that I've been grappling with or trying to figure out, I guess, along the way, is for full transparency, there didn't used to be evasion. Evasion was a thing that was added very close to when the open beta dropped, and so and I think it's really fun, but used to just roll damage, and if it was below your minor threshold, then you didn't take anything, and if it was above it, then you would take 1. But then when we added evasion, specifically adding evasion because we wanted to create the opportunity for characters that were fast, that were nimble, to be able to get out of the way of attacks, and it was feeling like you couldn't. If you were playing a rogue and you got hit, there wasn't the opportunity for you to feel empowered as a character that would dodge if the GM just did damage, because there was no specific way to do that. And we didn't want to throw it on agility because we didn't want to create this problem where there was one stat that was specifically designed to dodge out of the way stuff, right? So in developing out that system, minor thresholds sort of got left over there, and we continued to playtest it, and it was fine, except that when you get hit, if your evasion, if the GM rolls higher than your evasion, equal to or higher than your evasion, and you take damage, then they could roll their damage, and then you could still not get hit if it was below your minor, which felt cool, but also the thing I was the most worried about was on the other side for adversaries. If a player rolls to hit and succeeds, and then they roll their damage, and the GM's sorry, they don't take anything, and there's no resources that are spent, right? They're not spending armor, they're not doing it can feel bad, and so
from a player-facing standpoint, it was an experience that we had seen time and time again through testing internally and externally, the opportunity of successfully hitting something and then having nothing happen, which was kind of against a lot of the ideas behind Daggerheart in general. Something should come out of every action and roll.
Yeah, and so anyway, long story long, we ended up going back. I sort of took a step back. The team took a step back and went how would we fix this if we could, given where we are? And the way that we started playing was just remove the minor threshold. You have minor, major, severe, as far as like the structure of what kind of damage you can take. And then that gives you 2 thresholds and we go from there. So just to give you some insight into why those things changed the way they did. But I'm really excited about it. It's been testing really well so far internally, so we're excited to see what you all think of it.
Yeah. Let us know if you love it. Let us know if you hate it. Let us know if you're still thinking on it. Whatever. All that's helpful for us.
Yeah. I can talk about campaign frames next. Okay, so
Exciting.
so something else that we're working on, which is really exciting, I think Matt and I are both excited about it, is something called campaign frames. So in the same way that we have like environments in the game, which are sort of stat blocks for like areas, and then we have locations, which is sort of a step above environments, right? It's like the location that you're at, so that's like the Sablewood, right? Or Kinnikojan Jags, or one of those. And then on top of that, the layer above that we're working on right now is campaign frames. And those are essentially like guidance for the GM to be able to build the kind of campaign that you want to. And there's nothing solidified right now. We're literally in development on it. But thinking about like, okay, if we wanted to do a campaign frame that was about the world out of balance, and it sort of had inspiration from like Lord of the Rings. What was the other one that you were saying? Legend?
Legend.
And Never-Ending Story.
Never-Ending Story.
Yeah.
Places of gentle wonder and comfort that a shadow looms in. That theme you see in a lot of fantasy fiction. How to very easily and in a welcoming way introduce a GM, new or old, to implementing that sort of theme into their campaign and tools to do so in a very cool and unique way.
Yeah, and so getting like a spread of GM tools and principles and player principles and all sorts of stuff that would help you to play that. One of the other ones we talk about is like doing a campaign that's inspired by Shadow of the Colossus and doing like colossals and how you would fight those. And specifically those campaign frames, we're playing with the idea that they have their own set of mechanics that can come out of them. So like if we're doing the Colossus campaign, then you might have guidance there of like, okay, as a GM, when you build adversaries, when you build a Colossus, you're building something that an enemy that has it's basically these 6 like stat blocks that are all statted like enemies, but when they fall, all of them basically have to be defeated for the Colossus to fall.
Right.
And all of them have their own techniques you have to use to do that, and like their own effects that happen when you fight them, and all sorts of things. But essentially doing like a giant's campaign. So yeah, sort of inspired by those classic Colossus kind of tales.
A lot of fun campaign options.
Yeah.
That outside of the standard campaigns, you can hone in on certain themes and then offer different utility tool sets for the GM to implement. Things like monster hunting, where if you want to run a campaign where defeating monsters reaps rewards. Perhaps changes the way that characters heal in a campaign.
Yeah.
But you heal by defeating monsters and like cooking what you carve from them and make equipment out of it. Like a lot of these different cool things that don't weigh down the initial delivery of the Daggerheart system to you, but there's a lot of really fun options that once you get comfortable with it, or if you're already comfortable with RPGs as a GM and players, you could look at these and kind of pick and choose what fun facets could even further tweak the game experience.
Yeah, and also just guidance to make your own too. So if you're really excited about a specific world that's inspired by X and Y that you've wanted to play in, then just kind of giving you as a GM the opportunity to build that out and show you what you might use for that in a way that allows you to do prep easier and sort of homebrew the world easier. So I'm really excited about that one.
Really excited. It's a big philosophy of how we've been developing the GM-facing side of Daggerheart is to try and take players of no experience up to experienced players and give them enough tools in a very succinct and exciting way that they can either decide to delve into or slowly introduce over time. And I think the campaign frames is a really, really cool continued extension of that philosophy.
Yeah, and we'll see. We would love to get your feedback on how that plays out once we, obviously once we actually get stuff released to you for the later update. Please let us know what's working, what's not, because we want to build some of those out.
Yeah, we'll burn it all down if you hate it.
We will.
We're ready. We'll torch it all. Or if you really like it, we'll keep it in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just let us know.
Great. Should we do
some new locations?
Yeah.
Right?
So we've been talking about. I can kind of take this one since I know this one too. new locations are imminent for the book. I know it's said more coming soon in the playtest doc for some time. We have been building them behind the scenes. We have a couple that we're excited about that are going to go in the final book, but I'm thinking we might release one for the next version of the playtest so that you have an additional location to choose from when you're playing in the playtest, or if you want to go make your own, kind of, giving you another piece of inspiration for that. But I'm hoping that this one will be unique enough that it will provide additional fodder for if you want to build something at home, or you just want to pull something for your game. So anyway, that's in the works. Hoping it comes. Again, no promises on any of this. That we might get to the point where we're like, oh, we actually need to save that for later, in which case, we'll do that. But yeah, I'm excited for that. And then do you want to talk about beast form?
And we also are looking to do some tweaks, some rebalancing of beast form for the druid class, as well as some additions to it. We've heard some great feedback on people that are playing longer form campaigns for the druid and are looking to have a few more options as they progress forward. So we're looking at maybe adjusting the beast form to be based on the character advancement tiers, as opposed to just the standard leveling spread that we have currently, as well as introducing some more options at their disposal as they progress to make it feel a little more robust for your player customization. So look forward to an update in that space as well.
Yeah, I mean, we really wanted to make sure we were getting beast form right, and there's some changes that have happened specifically around armor. There's been some edge cases with armor in beast form of, like, if I take off my armor and then I change into beast form and then I put my armor back on, how does that work? And so we've done like an overhaul to test on how armor will work there. So no, that's in the works too. We've been hearing your feedback there and taking that to heart. And it's just been about finding the right solution. So Rowan, who's off screen, had a really great idea for it just a couple of, I think maybe a week and a half ago at this point. And so I was like, yes, we have to do that. So we're testing that now. It will probably come out in the next one. Yeah. Okay. Should we talk about the heavy hitters?
Yeah. I think that kind of primarily concludes the discussion of the 1.5. So let's go ahead. We put a little social push recently to a bunch of folks in the community to send us their most crazy builds, damage dealers, damage mitigators,
so cool.
Whatever combinations they could muster creatively to really test the limits of the system when it came to dice values and damage mitigation.
Well, I was gonna say, one of the things that we should talk about before we even jump in is, like, the interesting thing for us about these, especially on the development side, is like, we're gonna, part of this is like, okay, we want to see how big you can hit, and part of it is also like, okay, we want to see if things are broken, like broken, not fun broken, right?
Yeah, and so there is a difference.
Right. Like, some of this is like, this is fun broken, and we want you to be finding those synergies and those opportunities to, like, do damage. And if you can do a ton all at once, that's really fun. But as long as you can't do that every time, I think that's kind of the goal. So these are an interesting spread from the dev side of, like, what is fun and what is fun broken and what is actually, like, something we need to patch. So, do you want to do the person who named the move?
This first one. This one, Martin, is somebody who actually named the move they described to us at the end, which to me is always a legit bit of player creativity.
Call out their names? Is that something you want to do? Yeah?
Yeah,
okay.
hell yeah.
Cool. So this one's just Justin.
Just Justin. Indeed. They had submitted a level 7 Slyborn Fairy multiclass that was a Nightwalker Rogue, and then multiclass into Divine Wielder Seraph.
Yeah.
And as they described that, while they were hidden, they launch a sneak attack, dealing 1d6 damage, and then add a smite for an additional 8d10 plus 7 damage while slashing using a d10 weapon. And then afterward, they spent a stress to shadow step away and then throw 2 axes, spending a stress point to hit another creature, and then redirect their attack back at the same creature. All that together they called the Shadow Hunter technique.
Very cool.
Which was pretty rad.
Yeah.
You want to get this to the next one?
Sure, yeah. Well, I was going to talk just really quickly on that. It's so interesting because that one is like, they're using their sneak attack and their smite at the same time, and then doing an additional action after that, right?
Yeah.
To step back and then throw their axes. And it's very fun to see, like, the way in which people are comboing, because this system allows you to, like, do a thing, and then if the rest of the table is cool with it, like, do another thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, this is a perfect example of kind of what we're talking about with the heavy hitter stuff.
Yeah.
This is really awesome. Is it game breaking? No.
No.
Is it impressive? Yeah. Is it fun? Hell yeah. So these are the kind of things that I really love finding now that we've put the system out in the world. You know, we've had fun kind of customizing our own stuff and messing with it in our own term, but some of you guys have gotten really creative and some really cool stuff with it, and this has been really exciting.
So cool. Okay, this one's called Make It Your Own. It's Marganis.
Marganis,
Am I
yeah.
pronouncing that correctly?
got
I
it
think so. Okay, it's a level 7 Ridgeborn Galapa dwarf mixed ancestry, stalwart guardian. So they tweaked Galapa slightly. Their idea was an armadillo who's wearing plate armor and tanking the front line at level 7 with
Your breath of fire in there.
yeah. At level 7 with an advanced tower shield and plate, Sherman, which I'm assuming is the name of the character, walks around with a 20 to 24 armor, depending on card loadout, and thresholds of 13, 18, and 39. 10 armor slots and 8 stress means that he'll be able to mitigate a lot of damage over the course of an adventuring day, then turn around and dish it back out with 40, 10 plus 8 damage with just an improved mace. Very cool.
Pretty freaking slick. Sherman, you're pretty rad.
Sherman's all right.
This here is an awesome stress build from Emoik. This is a level 7 Orderburn, demon human troubadour bard. As they put down here, when they're making their presence roll, they can spend a hope to claim a lie-based Orderborn tenant.
Oh, interesting.
To make the hope die a d20, then spend a hope to use a deceiver-based experience for an additional +4 to that roll.
Yeah.
Then, if your tenant and experience are deceit-based, you can then use the Def Deceiver for advantage on the roll. So you're now rolling a D20 hope die with a D12 fear die with a D6 advantage die with +4 presence and then +4 experience on top of that, making your result between 11 and a 46. That's just off the dice averages. You'll probably have a 5% chance to get 16 or lower.
Oh my God.
And that's before reroll options will kick in for the character. Then you have a 95% chance to succeed against any tier 2 opponent. Even against tier 3 opponents, where the difficulty is 20, they only have a 15% chance to fail before the rerolls, mind you. And if both dice are low, the human's adaptability can then reroll that. And if one die is low, and you have used a lie, then endless charisma can be used to re-roll the low die. If the roll is high, but with fear, then you can use the demon's fearless to switch it with hope. So you're just, once again, a perfect build to make sure that they're gonna believe.
Right. That's like it's a great example of being like, I'm good at this one thing. They believe my lies, right?
I adore that.
That's really cool. Okay, this one is the heaviest blow dealt that we found. So this one is from Neferkar's Champion. It's a level 7 giant multi-class, Divine Wielder Seraph, and Call of the Slayer Warrior. So they note that the main gimmick is to get all of your stress maxed out by swapping abilities when needed, and then having Conviction activate, because that activates when you have a bunch of stress. First thing first, we are a level 7 Seraph with a multiclass in Slayer Warrior, making it so they can ignore burdens for weapons. So their primary weapon, is a Brave Sword, and then a secondary is the Powered Gauntlet. And first, they use a stress on the Powered Gauntlet to increase their proficiency by 1. Then they swap Conviction out of the vault, so they have another +1 proficiency, and then they also use Soldier's Bond to increase their hope by 3, and then they put it in the vault and take out Deadly Focus. and then
so awesome.
And then once combat starts, they use Deadly Focus to increase their proficiency by 1 on one specific target. Altogether, making proficiency +7 to one target. And then with all of our abilities, our weapons will deal 7d12 plus 18. Using the 3 hope we gain from Soldier's Bond, we activate Smite, making our next attack that hits the target 14d12 plus 18. And then if we hit with Hope, Forceful Push will activate, making an additional 1d6 damage. And because we have Slayer dice, we can deal additional between 1d6 and 7d6. Most likely it'll be 4 unless you somehow have, roll 3 Hope immediately after gaining 3 temporary proficiency. So an average, they would deal 117 points of damage, 126 if they had all 7 Slayer dice, or 333 points of damage if they crit. 360 if they have 7 Slayer dice, and doing well over tier 3 major threshold monsters, Additionally, if they crit and somehow rolled max damage, they said they would get a 720 point damage hit, which is pretty cool.
Which is really cool. And I was mentioning this too, from a GM standpoint too. What I love about this is a huge hit that will take a huge chunk and be an epic moment out of the game. But because the thresholds are there, it's not going to immediately end an encounter in a possibly disappointing way after all this buildup. It's going to make it a lot shorter, and it's going to really make that whoever you just hit really scared, or the GM go, oh no. But from a GM standpoint, also part of the threshold balance means that this heavy hit is impactful, but not just going to waste an encounter, doing 700 and average of 360 damage.
Right. Max of 720, which is wild.
That is amazing.
So cool. Okay, do you want to take the last one, the biggest hit taken?
The biggest hit taken. This one is nicknamed the Glass Shield by Ross. They built a level 7 Ridgeborn Orc and Fearbulg multi-class, a Stalwart Guardian into a Wordsmith Bard. So the largest single attack mitigation that they mathed out is they can mitigate 896 physical damage.
Incredible.
From
you imagine rolling that many dice to hit a player?
I can now, and it excites me. It says the build's mechanical core centers around using sturdy and natural calm to make armor slots and stress points go further, as well as having the chance of them not being expended.
Right, because of the natural calm. And sturdy, because both of them, you roll a d6 and see if you get back the armor slots.
So combining those two, it means you can keep generating those. Then you have stubborn armor. And stress and multiple applications of the minor
wound threshold. I think we're talking about
minor wound threshold. Would allow its overall mitigation potential to exceed what it can manage for a single attack. Then the multi-class into Bard for Enrapture, which allows you to force adversaries to focus on you and ignore allies, while also providing an outlet for actions that don't require dealing damage to avoid losing Unstoppable as a Guardian.
So basically, keep your attention on me and then hit me, and I can mitigate whatever you throw at me.
All day long. And
so cool. But it sounds like you can probably do that, as long as the dice go your way, you could do it for a long time, and then when the dice don't go your way, it's over. So it's a cool gamble there, especially with the combination of sturdy and natural calm, because you're I'm rolling some d6s and we're seeing what that.
We're hoping it goes my way.
Totally.
So it's these builds don't feel unfair, broken. They're helping us kind of balance out a few things, of course, as we go. But I don't want to punish players through balancing for coming up with cool things. We love these combinations, and these kind of things we're excited for the final version of the game to be able to allow a lot of things like this as well. So this is awesome. These submissions have been great.
So cool.
Thank you so much for contributing to these and sending your ideas to us. It's been really, really cool to read them.
Been very cool. Okay, well, some housekeeping, and then we'll get to some questions from the chat. So the main big two things that we have are that the open beta will be done at the end of July. So just so everybody knows, we will be bringing things back internally. We will continue to take surveys, and we will continue to adjust everything as needed. We're going to go back to kind of testing with all of the feedback that you've given us. It's been really, really cool so far to see all of that. And I'm excited to, over the next couple of months, past the open beta being closed, continue to iterate and find the final version of the game before it goes to publishing. On top of that, 1.5, which will be coming out in July at some point, will likely be our last release for the game for the public beta. So know that there's one more version that's coming, and then things will be on hold until the game kind of goes to print.
We're gonna cook internally, finalize things, tweak things as we do our internal tests, and then get it ready for release next year.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Okay, we have some questions. Actually, we should talk about that. Just continue to fill out surveys before we jump off of this. You should know that means that we're going to want as many surveys as we can get over the next couple of months. If you have been playing and you haven't filled out surveys, or if you haven't started playing it but you want to and you want your voice to be heard, now is the time to do do it because come, end of July, early August, it's gonna be a lot harder to implement any feedback we get moving forward past there, because we will be in the process of tweaking everything based on all the feedback we already got.
Yep.
So get your surveys in, and just because something hasn't changed, the whole open beta doesn't mean it won't change for the final game. So if you have something you feel really passionately about, or you have a thing that you feel like you want to see change, please, and you've said it in previous surveys, please continue to say it. Great. Okay, now we'll get to questions.
Yes, now we have it. First question here we have from our Discord. I know that when 1.4 launched, you had specific guidance for what we, the player base, could do to help us, the design group.
Yeah.
Talking now and looking forward to 1.5, what are the items we can take a look at for you in the immediate future? What are things that you really want the community to focus on?
It's such a great question. So I think we're down to balancing. Really, for me, it's hitting in 1.5 truly, but even now, understanding how you feel about where armor and evasion and thresholds are at. Understanding also, we have a bunch of items and we have a bunch of equipment that all is in the book that has been there the whole time. Getting feedback on that so that we know, oh, these things I really like, these things I don't, these mechanics seem to work and they don't. I'm excited to see all of that. And also, for me, domain cards are, in specific, the levels 5 through 8 or 9, right? That's the area that we've had the least amount of surveys on. So I know we said it last time, but I'll say it again. Really testing those levels for us would be super helpful, and getting those domain cards to the table, so that we know that they all work together the way they're supposed to.
Yeah, any GMs out there that want to run, a handful of one-shots or a short-form campaign that focuses specifically on those levels, if you're a group, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, it'd be so
Plus,
helpful.
they're really, really fun levels to play because a lot of your abilities get really crazy around that time, too. So you get to really find some builds that do some crazy shit.
Yeah. Well, I'm also excited to see, and this is something that we are just now starting to get data back on. So if you are playing a campaign and you haven't submitted survey stuff, one of the things that we really do want to get, and there's not really a good way to get info on unless you run an open beta like this, or run lots of campaigns internally, is I want to know what the experience is like from level 1 to level 10 in a larger way. We've run those kind of campaigns very quickly here, and then are also running stuff over an extended period of time in the groups that we have. But knowing from those of you that are out there playing it, how does it feel to progress from level 4 to level 5 after you've played level 4 for at least a session or two, right? Or at least 3 or 4 sessions.
Yeah.
Because it's a very different experience if you're changing all of your stuff, every session you're leveling up one level so that you go 1 through 10 incredibly fast, as opposed to spending the time in each level and learning what you have new, and getting access to new equipment to try out different things. So anyway, that's really helpful for us as well.
Yeah, if any of you have been playing from level 1 when the open beta first started, and been adjusting with the rules, but have been kind of playing slower, natural progression through a campaign, and you have the opportunity before this open beta closes to let us know how that experience was for you. Please send us a detailed submission about how you enjoyed that, what things you think could be a little better, what things you were excited for, what things when you got there weren't as exciting. All of that is massively helpful right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've seen people start to play at level 10 and rightfully feel a little bit overwhelmed by how much is available at that time, and I'm really interested to see. That feedback is incredibly valuable to us, and also I wonder how that's different if you've been playing for 100 sessions leading up to level 10.
Oh
right?
yeah, I mean there are many other systems I've played in and done one shots at max level, and me and other players go, oh god, okay, and so that doesn't tell me that it's a challenge, but with that sort of experience, that really helps inform that, especially with experience of the system going forward, that becomes easier with time and just comfort with the system. But all that is extremely helpful to have.
Yeah. Okay, the next one is Daggerheart suitable for long-term play? I think we just answered this. We're talking about doing 100-session play. I think it is ideal probably in longer form play. I mean, it can play one-shots, but I think the beauty of the system lies in the fact that you can upgrade your character a whole bunch. So I don't know if you have anything about long-term play that you're excited for.
I mean, it's built specifically for long-term play. Like you can do short-term campaigns very easy with this, and that's what a lot of the beta test has been helpful with in the groups in this. But what excites me is, like a lot of my favorite game systems out there, I like overarching narratives over an extended period of time. I love the idea of character progression, being informed by player journeys and interactions, and having a system that facilitates that sort of growth, and having that growth dynamic enough where you can play multiple sessions between a character leveling up, and that leveling up feels extremely impactful and feels exciting. And a lot of those were a lot of design philosophies in developing Daggerheart, and we've been enjoying that internally tremendously. And the ability in the future to continue to support this system once it's released means that we get to even further expand with options beyond that. Other ways to customize characters as you level up. We have a lot of fun ideas we get to play with in the future. So
we have so many ideas.
So many ideas.
Like we said before, we got to get the groundwork done, and then we get to do all the additional fun ideas. But
this baby's got legs.
I love it. Okay, what has been the biggest revelation or surprise you guys have seen from the beta testing? I know you've run it on stream a couple of times. What's been the biggest surprise for you, like that maybe has changed over time?
Over time?
Yeah.
I think one, the removal of stress, like damage taken beyond the stress point, or the issues of having to worry about stress management when you're below the minor threshold previously, and how he kind of made that adjustment to help streamline a lot of combat for me. That was a huge change, because it was just that one extra step that we didn't realize earlier in the system that once removed made it just move that much smoother. So that to me was a big adjustment. From the beta testing, I mean, just the general tweaks of the classes, a lot of the improvements to like the different class features, the players at my table have been really, really thankful and enjoying. I mean, those are the big changes that really kind of made an impact. A lot of the other ones are just like housekeeping and minor tweaks here and there.
I think for me, one of the big ones was watching people not have initiative for the first time. And that kind of reaction and like the surprise of coming from narrative for games. I think there is a that was a big change. On my side, I was like, okay, well, I'm trying to find that middle ground, and so to see sort of like the people grappling with this idea of like, well, how do we play, and watching people slowly get it, and of course, the game's not gonna be for everybody. No game is for anybody. No game is for everybody. But for those of you who have sunk your teeth in and gone, okay, we're gonna try something new, to watch the reaction of those people on the surveys that we've gotten, and people be like, oh, I get it. Like I feel this like new sort of freedom was really neat. Because I know a lot of people are coming from initiative-based systems.
I am.
Yeah.
Nearly all of them.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think I misunderstood the question originally. In the broader sense, that was a major shift.
Yeah.
Both for me as a GM and for the players, I know, especially at the table. And it is a learning curve, because a lot of us come from initiative systems. And there is a comfort to the numerical cycle of initiative. But also, as time has gone on, I've also had a lot of frustrations with that. And I think there is a type of freedom and narrative flow that feels more cinematic, more immediate, and the players tend to be more invested in every moment of the game, as opposed to, here's my turn, and then go to my phone. Because you have to wait a while before something happens, which has been a challenge that I've had in many systems over the years. So I've really loved that transition, and watching people kind of learn and get used to it, and what comes with that step has been really, really fun.
Yeah, I would say the last one for me, and then we'll get to some more questions, is and I might have talked about this before, so forgive me if I have, but the idea that, like, okay, when you roll with hope, you get hope. When the GM rolls with fear, they get fear, and that fear was dictating how moves are taken and how those, like, when that hit the table for me, I think coming from, a PBTA, like Forge in the Dark background, I was like, okay, this is a way for us to be able to grant permission for the GMs to, like, do a cool thing, and give them a, like, yeah, you just get to do it. All you have to do is spend a fear. And I noticed that what actually came out of that was that people felt limited in the kinds of moves that they could make.
Yeah.
When as a GM, you just have to feel that freedom to like do the cool thing. And so backing that system off and saying like fear is a currency that you can collect to use later if you want to like hold your move, essentially, because that was one of the other things that we saw people struggling with early on, and maybe still struggling with, depending on your familiarity with, with other kinds of systems, where it's like every roll you make, something could happen. So like we have to think about what consequences could be, but like giving people the opportunity to go, as a GM, I'm gonna take a fear, I'm gonna describe how like the mood of the scene changes.
Yeah.
The person bangs on their shield with their mace and like, steadies themselves. And we create this ambience, but then you just gain a fear and you get to hold that, and then you have the opportunity to use that as a big move later. I think is a nice in-between.
I've loved the implementation of that system and its tweaks down the road.
Yeah.
It took me a little bit to get used to because I'm so used to other systems.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because in some of the familiar constraints aren't realized until something new kind of challenges your perspective on how you engage with a new system. Right. And then that's happened with every new system I've adopted or learned to play over the years. This is no different in that regard. And I felt like in the earlier way, fear was happening a lot, and I wasn't quite sure how to utilize it enough at that point. Like in the first time we ran our one shot, that turned out to not be a one shot, like things do. But in the more recent games, I've felt more comfortable in that knowledge. I felt more empowered to utilize that. The taking of fear had more weight and was more special, and to that point, the players felt that heavy shift whenever it did happen.
Yeah.
They're more scared when nothing happens, and you take something that'll get them later, and then. Just once the players learn the balance, the give and take of the initiative-less system, and then you realize the empowerment of both the action tokens and the use of fear to jump in when you need to.
Yeah. I'm spending this fear. I'm going now.
I'm going now. Yeah. Like once you learn that permission, then the dynamics of it feel really, really fluid, but without feeling like you're just making decisions on the fly for people that like a rigid system. It kind of finds that fine balance between very fluid narrative-based systems and very, very structure-based tabletop RPGs, and so that I've been really enjoying, and that kind of surprised me more because I wasn't certain.
Yeah.
I was like,
look, we were all throwing stuff at the wall, right? Like that's the beauty of testing is like, and game design. It's like we're gonna try stuff, and if it doesn't work, then we change it.
Yeah. Because we've been working on this for a while, and there have been earlier iterations of Daggerheart where even in those early stages, kind of transitioning into these sort of ideas of the GM and player freeform conflict and such, I had to wrap my head around it, and I was uncertain of some of these things when they were first changed or implemented. But once I got my feet into it and got to mess with it, I felt, and I say this, I felt because many of you can feel very differently, but I felt very quickly comfortable and excited for the direction it was going. And with each change, it's become easier and more comfortable for me to get into that. And I hope you've seen that transition from game to game as well. For those who've seen
Matt's
our
been
Daggerheart
working
stuff.
so hard every time to like implement new rules and stuff as he prepares for the next game that's happening on Thursday. So it's been really, I'm so gracious to you for doing that. One other thing I'll say too is like specifically on the action tracker, like that was an idea that it used to be that the GM just made moves, they got to do a thing, and that could be like making an attack, and we were finding that the battlefield kind of felt slow when that happened.
It felt the pace of it was strained.
Yeah.
And
when you're in Theater of the Mind, like in a PBTA or Forge in the Dark game that traditionally doesn't have maps and minis, and the GM just makes a move, everything else is off screen, so you don't tend to like have that same hurdle. But when we have a map in front of us, then it's like, oh, why has this person just been sitting there for a long time? And I'm not getting enough, moves to be able to make them, specifically to make them move. And so like, I was sitting in the shower, like staring at a wall, and I just remember being like, I need to figure out a way, and then the action tracker thing like fell into my lap maybe like a couple of weeks before we went open beta. Yeah. So just to give an idea of like how new that was and how much we were kind of testing. So really thankful for everybody on weighing in, and I know everybody likes different kinds of games, but that was I'm hoping we're finding that middle ground.
Let us know, please.
Yeah, let us know. Okay.
We'll try and cruise through some of these questions.
I'm sorry.
We spent a lot of time on that one. It was a good question, though.
Yeah, it was a good question. Okay, I know this is a far future question, but can we expect more classes and subclasses that are more than just new combos of the domains? Are there plans to add more domains and thus classes?
Maybe.
I can neither confirm nor deny
Same.
that is the plan. Next
None of
question,
us
please.
have spent too much time thinking on these
Neither of
things.
us have done that. You've mentioned adding tools to help brand new players get into Daggerheart and TTRPGs. What are your plans to lower the GM burden and provide tools to make it easier for first-time GMs to step into the role with Daggerheart?
That's a good question.
It's a great question. So I am going to be working on just like a GM onboarding packet. Maybe it'll go in the book. Maybe it'll just be separate. But I've been working on it for some time, just trying to... Honestly, I want to get the balance of everything right first so that I know what the finalized mechanics are there and can teach it according to like what the actual rules are. But the idea is having a packet or a section of the book where you can just go and it'll be like, in very layman's terms, in very like casual conversation, like, hey, we're here. We realize you probably haven't run Daggerheart before, or if you have, it might have been the open beta. Like, let's talk about how you run the game and what do you need to know from the very beginning, and in a very casual, conversational way, like run you through how we make sessions happen. So that's kind of the plan on my side. I think also part of it is like showing the game being run. I don't know if you want to talk about like the experience of the Menagerie, but just like, and also I think the impact on like learning games through APs.
Yeah,
but
I think, well, for me personally too, once the game is finalized and is out in the world, just like we did with previous content on Critical Role, like Handbook or Helper and stuff, we'd like to create videos in a similar way down the road that can be wonderful teaching tools for new players to the system as well as GMs. Like I would love to delve into videos that not just discuss the tenets of teaching somebody how to GM, but showing very welcoming and easy ways to learn the things you maintain as a GM in this game, how to keep it fluid, how to keep it, conscious and in front of you. Because that's the delicate balance of being a GM, is both focusing on the rules at hand, focusing on what the players want, focusing on what you had possibly planned before and where you think it might go. GMing any game is like being in the middle of a nexus of multiple timelines. And however, we can best make you feel comfortable in that space, both within what's in the book, ancillary support materials in the form of video content or other things. That's all very actively being thought of, and your surveys help that tremendously.
I was also going to say, if you have specific things that you feel like we could do to help better onboard you as GMs, we welcome that in the survey feedback as well. Knowing what you all want, knowing the way that you all best learn is something that we are really dedicated to figuring out as we move forward as Darrington, as we make more games, right? And like figure out what, how we can give you the best tools to play great games at your table, tell great stories together.
Different minds and different life experiences connect with materials differently, and how we describe and introduce something might be more helpful for some than others. And so anything that's written as it is that you having a hard time grasping the concepts behind, let us know, and we can help continue to help better present those in the future as well.
Yeah. So somebody asked, what are cool ways to reward players for their creativity? I want to do inspiration as spend an inspiration to roll an additional hope die and keep the highest of the two opinions. So totally doing homebrew of inspiration is cool. I also think just giving people hope. If they do a really cool thing, you can just
give them a hope.
Because the thing about hope is that they can spend that to then help their party.
Yeah.
Which is like, or power their experiences. And so if you wanted to homebrew some sort of reward, that would be my thing. It's just like, give them hope when they do a thing that you don't expect or that's really neat.
I mean, that narratively makes sense too. When you do something really cool, something that really shifts the mood, your character gets a little more hope.
Yeah.
And hope is such a core resource to so much in the game.
Yeah.
So
big moments you could be like, and everybody gets hope, right? Everybody takes a hope.
Yeah.
Which can change the mood too.
Yeah. I think that's one very, very cool possible bit of homebrew, and maybe even a possible option that we've discussed for stuff in the book. So we got a lot of things cooking.
Okay. Will there be more details or lore about the default world setting for Daggerheart? And from Twitch, will there be core setting and possibly a book for lore alone? So we really want to focus in this book on sharing that lore building amongst your table. Some of the locations work that we're doing, campaign framework that we're doing, environment work that we're doing, hopefully will give people the sense that like they can jump in, especially the campaign frames. Actually, I think is the closest thing we have to that. Right?
Yeah. If I can jump in here,
please.
A lot of the philosophies of tabletop games that I've experienced over the years, you have the introduction of running a campaign that goes, okay, so to run a campaign, you build a world, and maybe you might make some cities, or you might have a theme, or here's an entirely written campaign book that has all the detail in it. Use it how you see fit. Or an adventure module that has a clear delineation. Those are all very useful for some people, but also can be very off-putting to some GMs, can feel too constraining or too open, or the open permission of just like, build a world and here are the rules for it can be too wide for some people, and it scares them off from doing so. What we're hoping to do with this is to build tools across that scale for all those different types of GMs, and not build a fully fleshed out Daggerheart world, but build enough of it that you could use what exists in the book and run a campaign through that, while having a bunch of really easy to pick from options to flesh out the spaces that haven't, or to create your own world very easily by picking a few options here and hopefully inspire the creative juices with you, and at the table with your players, flesh it out even further from that point. So it's meant to be scalable based on the experience and comfort of the GM and the players at the table, and that's a big effort of what we're trying to bring across with this.
Well, I think also it creates the opportunity down the road for there to be books that would, whether we make them or not, whether we make them or other people make them, right? Like books for people to be able to open up and go, hey, I really want to just play in this world, or in this setting, let me open up this setting and pull things from it that work for my table. And so, but specifically with Daggerheart, we wanted it to be something that you could jump in and have a collaborative experience in a way that we gave you as much or as little tools as you want to do that.
And the campaign frames we discussed earlier in this discussion are an additional layer of that tool as well. So when those are available, hopefully that'll be fun to mess with as well.
Yeah.
Next question is, can we continue to submit game-breaking builds? Yes, please. Keep breaking it. Not only does it excite us to read, but if something truly breaks it, that is good to know now than later.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the fun things, right? Is like people are going to continue to find synergy. There's going to be game-breaking opportunities every time we introduce new mechanics to the game, and that's part of the like open beta playtesting, is like finding where the line is. And so we can't do that without your help, because there are a lot of classes, a lot of cards, a lot of ancestries, a lot of communities. So yeah, all of those in combination make so many options, and especially across 10 levels, like
the higher levels, like break the game at the very high levels.
Yeah, 5 through 10, please.
Like those are great. And like we said earlier, game breaking that's fun versus game breaking that's not fun.
Right.
That's kind of the line we're trying to find and turn the knobs on here, because we don't, breaking the game in a way where everyone at the table is enjoying it and it doesn't ruin the story, or the GM doesn't feel slighted, or the players around you don't feel
I'm
slighted.
good at this one thing, so I'm focusing on that thing. Yeah,
that's great. That's fun for everybody, and those are the things you want to continue to facilitate in the game. It's the ones that kind of rob from the experience or break it to the point where it doesn't continue the story in an exciting way. Those are the things that we really want to keep an eye out for as well. So, but that whole spectrum right there is great to submit to us, because it helps us figure out where those things lie.
Yeah, totally. Somebody asked, are we losing access to Daggerheart on Demiplane after July then? And from YouTube, will the 1.5 changes also be implemented on Demiplane? So the Nexus will be available with 1.5 materials, and they will stay there once they launch until the game comes out in 2025, and then obviously there will be a new update with the official materials,
release rules, art, everything in the game will be on there when that hits.
But we're not taking that away from you.
Yes,
you'll be able to play 1.5 through until the game comes out.
Correct. Next question says, can I continue to stream Daggerheart after the open beta closes? Yeah, absolutely, please.
Yeah.
Go for it. Like, we love you guys loving this enough to keep playing it. So, like, yeah, go for it. Go forth with our blessing, please.
We're a 1.5, obviously, is going to have, a larger set of revisions based on the stuff that we have been working on lately. But the game will continue to evolve between 1.5 and whatever the release is called. I mean, it'll
Yeah.
just be Daggerheart at that point, right?
Yeah.
Daggerheart First Edition or whatever.
The game.
Yeah, the
Done.
game. But it will continue to evolve. But we want you to keep playing the version that's there because it will be probably close enough to the version that comes out that like all of that data will be useful for us.
Yeah, it'll be useful. And the final version will be finalized, tweaked better in its final version, cooked and ready to wow your table with a whole bunch of really incredible art
The
too.
art is so cool. Yeah, we've been. It's so cool. All of the domain cards have been getting their art coming in lately, and it is beautiful. It's so cool. We have lots of cool concept art from Sean Ellis, who's done so much great work for us already across many different projects. I think Sean did like some
Designed this set.
and has been doing some really great sketches for us on communities and ancestries. You actually can see Sean's work in the ancestry sketches in the manuscript currently.
Yeah.
That's all Sean.
There's so many great artists. We can't wait to shout them all from the heavens
Yes.
and show you all the work they've been cooking this entire time.
Okay, do you foresee Daggerheart supporting multiple genres, sci-fi, cyberpunk, etc.?
Maybe. We gotta get the first game done first.
You tell us what you want.
Yeah, honestly. But I don't see why the system couldn't support that down the road if the narrative and the world makes sense. It would be an overhaul of, domains and classes to fit that theme. But I mean, in success, when the game comes out, if you and all your friends buy copies of the Daggerheart game and it does well, then maybe,
Yeah.
that'd be fun.
It'd be very cool. Yeah, I think Daggerheart has like being a card system. We have this unique opportunity to be able to, make lots of really neat, evocative art that when you're looking down at your domain cards or any of your cards that you have in your hands, you're reminded of what you can do just based on what the image is.
Yeah.
And so hoping that, we obviously haven't seen that happen in the open beta yet because we just have one piece of art on all of the midnight domain cards so that we have an art piece on there, but we're actively working on getting that. But I'm really excited to see how when all of those art pieces hit the cards, how we kind of get this cool spread of like, this is what I can do and this is what I can do visually. And I think that lends itself to like any genre, right?
You can actually like take the locations that set up that we have within the book and the rule set, the campaign frames we talked about as well, and you could build many different genres that exist in the game as it currently stands. You just gotta be a little creative in how you interpret how some of the domain cards and the abilities are. You want to play in a sci-fi setting, instead of a crossbow or a longbow, use the same rule set, but just flavor it as a laser pistol or some sort of a plasma rifle. You can do that now, but officially, in success, that would be great.
In success, anything is possible.
Right.
Great.
We'll get there when we get to it.
This great question.
How much art haven't we seen? Hundreds of pieces, you all.
Hundreds.
So, like, this game is so fucking gorgeous. Pardon my French, but there's no other way I can describe it. The team of artists on this and the team of artists that we look forward to continue to work for in the future are so talented and so wonderful and really just kind of elevating this to a level that
I know.
Like I won't bullshit you. Like I'm being honest. I'm an art snob when it comes to RPG stuff as well, and the spectrum. What you've seen so far is already incredible, and it just gets so much cooler from here, y'all.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There's so much. Art is one of my favorite things about games, and every game that I make, I try and like I love getting in the nitty gritty of the art aesthetic, and we have a great team who's been working so hard to achieve the vision that we have set out. So I'm very excited for you all to see that because it's a lot. It's very cool. Okay,
I'll take that moment to
please.
give a shout out to all of our wonderful artists that are watching this possibly.
Yes.
But you're all amazing, and those of you I haven't met in person, I look forward to meeting in the future when we have the opportunity because you're all really, really genuinely killing it, and I hope you're as proud of your work as you should be, and as all of us are, because it's incredible. Anyway, sorry.
Incredible.
That was just for you.
We have one last question, which is, how excited are you to see the abacus coming back because of Daggerheart?
Dude!
So I bought an abacus. I bought an abacus to start using. In fact, if you want to use it, I can give you the...
Bring it over,
but
dude.
But it's really cool because I have one that like you basically, it has 2 racks and you slide one for action tokens and one for fear. And I've been using it in the playtest for the last week, and it's So fun.
See, that's what I want to have.
really
I want to have
cool.
one Abacus that has like a light blue teal color to it. That is the action tracker because it has that kind of like electric feel to it on this side, and then one that is jet black on this side for fear. That way, I have like a player side one that I can focus on when people do stuff, and then the fear token that goes over. So yeah, like that is a great question, and very excited.
Who knew we'd bring back the Abacus? I don't know. We're gonna play with it. It's gonna be interesting. I think that's it.
I think it is. Yeah.
Please continue to submit your surveys. Go play test. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't. Obviously, we want to hear any and all comments that you have, the good, the bad, the suggestions, all of it. So thank you for taking the time and play testing this at your tables. It means the world to us.
It's I'm so excited, Joe. This is already something special, and you're all making it more special. And thank you for all of you that are being a part of that process and continue to be. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to all of us.
Yeah.
And in the long run, it'll mean a lot to a lot of players who get to enjoy this incredible final product that you've helped forge. So thank you. Also, as a reminder, this Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, the Menagerie will return in another live-streamed Daggerheart game for 1.4.2. This will be in place of our usual Critical Role game on Thursday, since we're giving a time for folks who will be present at our live show at the Greek this Saturday to get caught up and help our production team not lose their mind in the process of trying to juggle those two bits. So
everybody's working so hard. This is wild.
It's a lot of engines happening. But yeah, so please check in on our stream this Thursday, the normal CR time at 7 p.m. to check out the Daggerheart 1.4.2 Menagerie game live on Twitch and YouTube and Beacon. The updated materials are now on Daggerheart.com, Demiplane and Drive Through RPG. Download the new character sheets and the minor tweaks and fixes that we did. Check whether any of your cards have received updates since the last one. You can check the changelog to see if those have been adjusted or shifted or not, so you can make sure you only have to plug in and out the things that have changed since then. Just make sure you're using the newer versions and continue to have fun, please.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear what you think, and we're just honored to have so many people playing. So we are prepping ourselves for 1.5, which is going to drop in July. So we're going to go and keep working on that for you, and just know that that's coming, and then hopefully that's sort of the last one until the game comes out.
Yo.
Oh God! Oh, it hurts saying. I'm so scared. It's gonna be great.
It has to happen eventually.
I know. Okay. Well, we're gonna be just fine.
Yeah. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening. And is it Thursday yet? Good night, everybody.